є на вулиці.
When I went to Ukraine that fourth time, I thought it would be a lot of the same. Patrolling, moving to contact, or maybe bombing some invaders. But it wasn't just that. This one was different. This is about a man hitting a wall, pushing through it, and finding a new way to contribute. Honestly, I showed up to this unit, the 130th TDF, thinking the tempo was going to be a lot of the same as before, the usual pace. Not really having time to sit with your thoughts. And at that point, that's kind of what I wanted. The months prior to this, I had to deal with getting cheated on. I had to deal with 3 of my friends becoming KIA on the same day, and a whole other pile of things I hadn't even begun to unpack. So yeah, stepping into something dangerous didn't seem like a bad idea. It was familiar to myself and it was predictable to everybody else seeing me. But pretty quickly, I learned that there was other plans in store for me. Instead of falling through with the rotation grind to the front line, I ended up with a soldering iron in one hand and a half-broken drone in the other. And funny enough, all of these hours tinkering, they slowed me down in a way that I didn't know that I needed. It gave me a moment to breathe. When we first were eyeing the idea of starting up an FPV team, the other engineer with me, Alex, had spoken to an old acquaintance and asked how to get started. And what he told us could have defined us right then. He said, we were too late. Don't even try. The barrier of entry to not only get started with this stuff, but to be taken seriously is a classic one that I've encountered all throughout my life. Being told I can't be a Marine, I can't be infantry, I can't be the PKM gunner, or go out and join the wars that I did. But I proved everybody wrong. And I wasn't going to let making FPVs be any different.
Alright, let's see if it's framed up. I have to keep you. Yes, it is. Hello.
Now, as far as getting started, if you're watching this thinking, dude, FPV engineering looks impossible, trust me, we were right there with you. At the beginning, none of this made sense. Not the software, not the wiring, not the radios, nothing. The first time we tried to download the software to update these drones, it took us 4 hours. And the worst part, we thought that was the hard part. Then came the radios, 2 full days of trying to bind a controller that every YouTube tutorial swore was easy.
Open, update, then update failed.
None of it worked until it suddenly did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You saw that?
And even then, we had no idea what we actually did right. The wiring is delicate, the settings are specific, the components burn out if you look at them wrong. The learning curve isn't a curve, it's a cliff. And at the bottom of that cliff is a pile of burnt ESCs, dead motors, and broken dreams.
Oh man, our battery is getting low. This one might be dust.
It's climbing even more.
We're at 500. Oh man, where? Is it on a...
You got even more.
I think we might have to go with like...
I see it, it's up there.
Yeah, but what if that thing drops on top of us, dude? We're at...
No, I'm looking at it, We're good. You got even more.
We're upside down. It's coming down, man.
Hold on, boys, it's coming in hot.
Oh lordy. You don't start with a budget. You don't start with fancy parts. You start with whatever you can scrounge up, salvage, or get donated. All the stuff that we had were hand-me-downs from an already failed FPV project before us, so it definitely wasn't looking good for us. When people imagine a drone lab, they picture a clean room with shelves of components like it's Taiwan. Our lab was a ping pong table, a laptop, and a couple dimmed lights. But here's the thing that matters. Your starting point doesn't matter. We were clueless, frustrated, and learning everything the hard way. But the war didn't need experts. It needed people who would try. People who would say yes even when they didn't know how. Because the real barrier isn't the tech, it's having the patience to suck at something long enough to get good. And we sucked. So what we have right here is a double dropper system. Last time I've used this one, it blew up. When I say sucked, I'm not talking about the, oh, I'm kind of new at this, but properly dangerously incompetent at building drones. Before our first mission with these drones, I got tasked to build a kamikaze drone overnight with almost zero understanding of what I was doing. And of course I said, yeah, because I'm a soldier.
Open! Open!
The next day, they took it out to the field, armed it, and before it even got airborne, it instantly flipped over onto the ground. They ended up having to put it out of its misery with their own rifles, hitting its battery, detonating on the position, and starting a fire. Yeah, that wasn't my finest moment. Starting out in FPVs is expensive, and I learned that the hard way. I can't count how many thousands of dollars ended up in the garbage. Batteries exploding right next to our bombs, yeah, it was trial by fire. We probably lost about 15 drones just from training flights, gone straight into the forest, never to be seen again. The first thing the guys would want to do as soon as they got done with their Mavic missions was they wanted to try the FPVs that I made. They wanted to go and test out the progress that I had done because they were excited for this project as well. So we'd fly in the backyard, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. One of the guys clipped the power line and the drone fell into the neighbor's driveway. And just as we got our heads above the gate, they drove off with it. Pretty sure it ended up with the police. And yes, it was absolutely illegal to fly there. But we had no choice. Our cars were broken down. We had to practice in the backyard. So I built smaller practice drones to avoid losing the expensive ones like that again. But the first time they went to fly it, they tried to fly it behind a metal fence, which killed the radio signal right at takeoff, which sent the drone straight up like a rocket, and it crashed onto the same neighbor's roof, breaking some tiles and almost starting a fire with the battery. At that point, we weren't just the drone guys, we were becoming local legends, and not the flattering kind. But surprisingly, most of the neighbors actually liked us. They saw two idiots trying to help the country, not cause chaos. Neighbors brought us soup, they brought bread and homemade food. They took care of us when we barely took care of ourselves. Every day, we woke up, screwed something up, broke something expensive, caused another small crisis, but at the end of that day, at 4 a.m., we always went to bed after learning one new thing. Just one, but that was enough to keep us going. Because as long as we were learning, eventually, we wouldn't suck forever.
Hello, we are 130th Territorial Defense.
One thing became obvious really fast. Alex and I could not do this alone.
Yeah?
And that's where Oleg stepped in, a friend of our unit who took time out of his own workload to get us started. He didn't just give us advice and leave, he linked us with two real engineers and told them, these two idiots are trying to build drones, answer their phone calls. And they did.
Having a problem with the servo. That servo is fine though, but anyway.
Didn't matter the time of day or night, they kept us from blowing ourselves up more than once. Then there was trust, and that came from you, the people watching this, the members on my channel.
All right, Caitlin, we are putting in the VTX.
My content has always been built on honesty, integrity, and showing things how they really are. And because of that, many of you trusted me enough to support this project financially, and that literally changed the outcome. As a contract soldier in Ukraine, the pay barely covers your daily life, let alone a personal R&D program. Every paycheck I got went straight into drone parts. I didn't keep a single cent, not because I'm noble or crazy, but because nobody else was going to do it for us. The unit didn't fund us, at least not at first, because why would they? We hadn't proved anything yet. They didn't trust our ability, but they respected our intention. And finally, motivation. Mine was already overflowing. I had done Mavic operations, I had gotten my piece of revenge for the friends killed months earlier, and now I wanted to build something that mattered longer than a single mission.
1 million subscribers?
My channel had crossed 1 million subscribers while I was on position, and I want to show that support wasn't wasted. That people weren't just watching a story, they were a part of it. And it wasn't just all of you, but my teammates were depending on us too. Not for glory, but for a chance at a safer and more effective role.
Get your names on these.
To be honest, something different. The kind of guys I hang around are a lot like myself. I visited friends in hospitals, some recovering, some not coming back, but every time it pushed me harder. Then I'd walk right back into our bombed out house with shrapnel holes in the walls and half the power barely functioning and get back to work. Because once people believe in you, you don't get to quit.
The most dangerous job, FPV engineer.
So, drone blew up in my hand there.
Yeah, I hit myself with my own FPV. Half due to faulty hardware, the other half complacency. Nonetheless, I started our final journey to success with one usable hand and sleepless nights. You might be asking why. Just take some time at the hospital. But that would ignore the whole purpose of this trip to Ukraine in the first place. I was here to put my all in respect to those who literally did. Suresh, Ethan, and Ned here were in all regards incredible human beings. People I often wish had the channel I did so they could share their experiences instead. I loved hearing them, and you would have too. Chorney was killed pretty early on in the FPV journey I had. Our medic was injured around that same time. Our top donator of drones, Doves of Freedom, was wounded horrifically, leaving one arm almost amputated.
Everything came to.
My good friend Zoffer, a good friend of many, died while I was engineering upstairs. But it was at that moment that I knew I was on the path that was meant for me. It wasn't glorious, but it was sure of a lot better than sitting in a hospital bed or in a bunker on the 0 line. So I chugged along. The work became my barrier to the waves of life. When our medic was hit, I was upstairs working and knew I was doing what he'd be proud of. When Zoffer died, I knew revenge was in the making, and it only inspired me to work harder. When my hand was cut up, I was upstairs working, and when I got out of the hospital, I went straight back upstairs to finish that drone, because that's what Doves of Freedom was doing in his spare time in the hospital bed. But when Suresh, Ethan, and Nedshir died, I was in Vietnam. I got drunk with my friends over the phone, and I woke up to a foreign world that didn't know or care about any of these things in my mind.
He's flying beautifully.
FPVs to me weren't just drones. They were a way of life, a way to not only set my mind free, but create something to let free. And in those moments, I never thought of anything else.
There she is, the bomb dropper. Drop.
3 failed missions. As you should expect, 8 months condensed into a 20-minute video is missing a lot. So let me catch you up to speed. On the first mission, we had interference issues. Then it was harmonization issues. And the third, a mix of both. There were wounds, death, weddings, fleas, and everything 3 seasons in Ukraine brings.
There's no other option. Drivetrain just fell off.
All the while, the war is still going on. But this long process of learning, all day calling up engineers, getting friends to stop by and help, it all added up to our final solution. Alex and I knew what had to be done. But right before we could get started, Alex had to head home for a month. He wasn't on contract. He was unpaid this whole time. So it was gonna be up to me. When he left and shut the door, I felt the weight all on my shoulders instantly. He was the calm, well thought out one, and I was the lunatic, inspired and motivated, but I leaned on his cool head and knowledge for everything. But after some late night ramen, something clicked. I had what it took. Before Alex left, we visited the only other FPV cell in our unit, and we talked through how to make this happen. And they recommended what works for them, a repeating system that would relay the connection to the drone from another larger drone. It sounds complicated, because it is, but it was doable. When I woke up, I called up everyone in the FPV community that I knew, and they didn't back down from the challenge of helping me. You all still continued to donate to the project, and our buddy Oleg had given us some engineers, and they were on the phone with me for multiple hours of the day.
The Sky Zone to L153.
A member of our unit gave us a ground station idea, and an old battle buddy from my SSO days gave me his repeater as reference. And also, before Alex left, he ordered a repeater for us, which we used your donation money to go and purchase. Our command was so impressed, they actually gave us a Matrice 350 RTK to use, which is a very expensive drone. And to top it all off, an old friend, Arnie, which all of you know from my channel, joined our unit as the main FPV pilot. He was the most experienced out of all of us with flying FPVs, and we couldn't ask for anyone better to fit the team. I had everything anybody could have asked for, and it was just time to put my 2 hands to work and finish the job. 16-hour days for a month. It all blended together, but here's how it went down. The first week, I got the repeater working, and the Matrice flying with your donation money being spent to purchase batteries for it. The second week, I had made the ground station, complete with an encryption device. And the third week, I was mass producing the stockpile of drones that we had, refitting them with new hardware I bought with my paycheck, about 20 of them. And the fourth week, my team and I were out every single day testing out each drone, figuring out what needed to change and which ones were good. And I'll tell you what, they all flew beautifully. 7.5 kilometers out, dropping a 1.5 liter bottle of water, and then flying back.
I'm just down.
But there was one problem. I could not get the connection to be consistent when the repeater was on the Matrice. It wasn't until Alex returned that on our first flight with him, he asked me one simple question. A question I probably already should have asked. Is the Matrice interfering with the repeater? Yes, it was. We turned off the dual band frequency on it, and we immediately found even more success. Consistent flights in and out, not one of them lost, with the repeater on the Matrice.
It's getting swarmed by birds. I know, I'm looking at that. Nice. Yeah.
I stayed up late that night. I had been through this more times than I like to recall, but this time was different. We all knew the system, it seemed flawless, but we also knew combat proven is combat earned, and that is not an easy thing. When they woke up at 4 a.m. to set off, I had just zipped up the last bag of gear, 10 bags total, and I packed in the car, and they drove off. Alex and I tried to get a nap as they were heading out to the front, but we couldn't. And then when afternoon hit, they had everything set up on position and were conducting their first test flights. Success. We get a call and a video sent back showing it was working just like in the rear. But the next call wasn't as good. They were having trouble keeping the Matrice oriented. It was going into ATTI mode, literally short for attitude mode, and that drone definitely had attitude. Alex and I frantically checked online as to why this could have been happening, but the next call changed everything. Not only was it user error, one of the guys had accidentally taped the downward sensor when he taped the light. So when they took it off, they went out for a bombing run, and it was a complete success, hitting right where the Russians were patrolling. It is very difficult to explain what Alex and I were feeling at that moment, but it was something I have trouble comparing to anything. We had finally done it.
It should be.
But the mission wasn't over. The question now was, could they sustain these bombing runs with the 10 drones that we gave them enough for the full 5-day rotation? And they did. Over and over, they struck targets, video after video coming in, firebombs, HE on Russian positions 7 kilometers away. Matter of fact, Arnie was so accurate, the Ukrainian position 15 meters away from the Russian one was so impressed, he asked Arnie if he could get them food and water since they were pinned down for a month. So he did that a couple times, until a radio call was sent in return that can make a grown man cry. Happy tears. But yeah.
You got them water and food?
Yeah, it's like Artem said it was like 1 meter away from where it was supposed to drop, so.
Perfect, dude.
They did well over 20 strikes during that 5-day rotation. Some bombs didn't go off, a couple of the drones were damaged, but overall, they returned with 7 out of the 10 that we gave them, and that was more than enough to be sustainable. A year later, some of the guys are still there. A few stayed in the drone game, but most went back to infantry. Because building and using drones just isn't glamorous. It's slow, patient work in a place where life moves fast and ends faster.
The brightness, yeah? Can you turn to the left a little bit?
But Arnie, he's still out there, flying like it's personal, because it is. Sending FPVs into Russian positions with the same confidence he had on day 1.
It just takes a while.
When I visited 6 months ago, my unit handed me an award. I didn't feel like a hero, I wasn't. I just finished what we started. But it meant something to them, so it also meant something to me. But that wasn't the end. I was lent one of the bombers that I had made back then to go and bring it to Poland to go and train a NATO unit. And they were so impressed with the bomber, they invited me again, where I acted as Op 4. And that's when the world really got small. There was a lot of militaries, a lot of people, a lot of places that needed somebody who had failed, not just somebody who had succeeded, because that's what this really was. The FPV journey is built out of burnt wires, misplaced screws, broken props, and days where the only thing that worked was refusing to stop. And I'm still flying. I'm still soldering, still learning. These drones were not what I thought they were. They're frustrating, they're expensive, they're unforgiving. But if you stick with them long enough, they give you something rare. Progress you can see, control you can feel, and purpose that nobody can take away. FPVs were not what I expected. But if you push through long enough, they become more than drones. They become purpose.
Yep. She's flying beautifully. Wow. No?